Thank you. Renette, I have something for this.
Yeah, so this is because of the expansion, or is this an ongoing?
This is, whether we expand or not, we still have to do this monitoring.
Okay, were we doing this monitoring before?
Now, so if you recall at the beginning of, or the end of last year, the state changed our permit for our existing treatment plant to the general order permit. That general order permit has this as a requirement of that permit. So although in the future, there will be different monitoring, or it's essentially the same monitoring, but there will be an additional well with the new treatment plant. So they'll be monitoring 3 wells instead of 2 wells. But no matter whether we do that or not, we still have to do this monitoring to comply with our current permit for our existing treatment plant.
And we don't have anyone in-house that can do this.
Unless we hire a hydrogeologist, we're not going to be able to do the work.
Really? That's crazy.
Originally, when we got the permit and we started working on dealing with the requirements of the permit, we thought we would be able to take care of that on our own. Because we are able to take samples and we are able to take measurements, but it's the general observation and the equipment that they need to take samples specifically for the different observations. So if we were to invest in that and invest in the training in that, then you would probably end up costing us nearly the same on an annual basis. And we would still have to hire a hydrogeologist to analyze the results and do that work.
So basically, in a nutshell, they're trying to regulate us out of extinction.
Yes.
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 Figured it out.
So so this is the cheapest way that I see going forward in being able to comply without having a bunch of other issues pop up.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so this is $30,000 annually?
Yeah.
Like forever?
It may be cheaper in the future, or it may be more expensive in the future. It really depends on the first year and what, after getting 4 quarters of results, what it looks like. So part of this is to determine, and as with the WSC model, is to determine the flow characteristics of the groundwater at the treatment plant. So if it comes out that there's not a definitive flow, then the state could make us do additional work to improve the flow direction.
What does that mean?
So,
what exactly are these guys going to do?
So part of what they're going to do, well, for this money, what they're doing is they're taking samples of the groundwater. They're taking depths of the groundwater at different times at different levels. They're analyzing all that data to determine which direction the water flows there, which is actually the upper gradient, which is actually the down gradient. If it actually, we all know that the Salinas River flows north, but it doesn't just flow north in a straight line. It kind of goes like this, and sometimes it comes back around. It kind of has like a little eddy. So if it has a little eddy at the treatment plant, then we might be required to do additional wells or additional monitoring to show that we're not having an impact on the water table, or the water quality rather. So what they're doing this year is basically the beginning steps of what we're going to be required to do in the future. All the work they're doing now is basically going to help refine the model to say, this is what we believe reasonably that the water table is doing right here. We believe that what we're sampling and what we're claiming is that we're not adversely affecting the water table, or we're not adversely affecting the water quality. So it seems like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but you really have to have that hydrogeologist to analyze all the data to come out and say, this is what it is. I mean, I could go out there and take water samples. I know how to do that. It's not a problem.
Well, we do that all the time.
We do that all the time. But it's getting samples in a specific way that comply with that permit. It's getting measurements at a specific, frequency and methodology that can be tied to the water table and tied to their model, showing that which way the water's flowing, if we're actually having an impact on the groundwater, if we're not having any impact, or if our wells need to be moved. If our wells need to be moved, then they have to provide, part of this is providing those locations, but we would have to drill new wells and then go through this whole process with those new wells.
So are they testing from our existing wells? Is that where they're getting their samples from?
So we have 2 wells on our property that are monitoring wells. We have an upgrading and a downgrading. So those were put in when this treatment plant was upgraded last time. So they're monitoring those. We've requested to be able to use other domestic wells around us to get additional groundwater data. We're still waiting on getting that data. But we can't use our production wells because they're not developed the same way as a domestic well, and they're deeper than generally the domestic wells in this area. So it's a big long process to go in a big circle to say that we're impacting the water or we're not. But the county, or the state rather, has made this a condition of our permit, and I don't think they really know what they're asking for, but they don't care because they're not paying for it.
Right. It just seems absolute collusion to me between the state government and these consultants and everything else that goes on.
It wouldn't be the first time.
It's outrageous to me. So what if we don't do it? Is anybody going to come shut us down, or what's the deal?
So if we willfully don't do what we know we can do and what we are able to do, then they could come in, they're going to find us in violation. They could, if you do it enough, they could come in and just take over the treatment.
Well, I read this equity report, and it talks about how we're a marginalized community with burdened by poverty and inequality, but yet they just dump all these expenses on the people of this community. That's an extra 30 grand that the people of this community are going to have to come up with. And it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
Well, there's no consideration at the state level for that. They don't care. The problem we have is purely a result of the state wanting to make it easier for themselves by creating a quote-unquote general order that applied to everybody with a plant 100,000 gallon or more. And although I haven't gone through the requirements for plants of 1 million gallons or more, I can only imagine the headaches that come along with that. So, we went round and round with them trying to get relief from doing some of these things, but our representatives at the Central Coast Water Board in San Luis, they don't have any pull or any authority to provide any sort of relief on that. All they can do is give you a little bit of time to try to figure it out. But really what it comes down to is if we don't do some of these things in compliance with our permit, then they find us in violation. They could start fining us if we're just willfully not doing it. And then if you really do that a lot, then they would probably just come and put somebody basically in receivership of the treatment plant.
Yeah.
And then they would do it, and you just have to pay whatever it is. So I don't necessarily agree with these, but I'm bringing it to you guys because it's something that we need to do as part of a compliance for our permit.
I have a couple of questions, but maybe Director Davis wants to comment first.
Yes, I would. Now, you're talking about the well at the treatment plant, right?
There's 2 monitoring wells at the treatment plant.
Right. And those are the wells that I found when I found out all the wells that were in there. And you initially told me there's no wells there. So now you're telling me there's 2 wells that have to be monitored and so on. So
So you were asking me about water wells.
Right, well, those are water.
not, yes, okay. They have water in them?
Right,
They are
right.
not production wells.
I
And I explained
wasn't
to you
doing
that we
that.
had 2 wells at the wastewater treatment plant that we used to monitor the
Right.
wastewater treatment.
Right,
That's what I explained to you previously.
good.
That's all they've ever been, that's all they've
I
ever
knew they weren't production wells, but I went to the county, I got, all the wells within the district. I had them all.
Right.
And those were on there. The only one that I didn't get, and I still haven't figured it out, is the SLT well up there. When I requested all the wells within the district, that well was not on there. The SLT well. I don't know why,
I don't know.
but anyway, I found one well located at the treatment plant. And I asked you, I says, do you have any wells here? Nope, don't have any wells there. So now you're telling me that, which I understand, you need to monitor well there. But, I guess my question is, okay, now you're saying we're gonna have to pay $30,000 to have it monitored and so on. And I can't see any reason why we have to pay somebody $30,000 to monitor those wells when we can do it ourselves. And instead of paying somebody $30,000 and then in a couple years, are they gonna do like the Wallace Group and blackmail us and say, hey, you gotta pay more or we're not gonna continue doing it? I mean, this is what I see. All this stuff, you know, like you had that special meeting, we paid Wallace Group $90,000 for the consultant and everything on the new treatment plant. And then you had a special meeting in June.
I was there.
Yeah, I know. You held a special meeting, I think it was June the 7th or something. Because you said that they had to have another $40,000 or they weren't going to do it anymore. That's blackmail.
That's, number one, Wallace Group or anybody else is not blackmailing the district for anything.
Well,
That is a false statement, and we
We're
don't
off
need to
topic
go down
here,
there.
we're off topic. Our topic is, as stated here, groundwater monitoring contract.
yeah.
And all this other stuff can be discussed outside the room, but we're discussing this right now.
So I have a couple of comments that I'd like to make or questions. So, you put this out to bid, right?
So it didn't go out to bid. There's not a lot of companies that do this. So
But
this company came recommended from other companies that don't provide this service.
But every city has to do this, right?
And Cleve Harris is unfortunately doing it for a lot of them.
So that doesn't, are they local?
Yeah.
I didn't see where they were going, okay. So that doesn't give them, I mean, that's my only thought is just, you know, to have it go out to bid and to see if there's other geologists that are less expensive.
So, I mean, we can go out to bid. It's just a matter of whether those geologists are familiar with these permit requirements and have done this type of modeling before. It's like our district engineer has hydrogeologists, but they don't have experience with this type of work regarding permitting.
Okay. Well, that would be my vote on this, because it does seem like it's a lot of money for what we would be getting, and it seems like they're just taking advantage of public entities, and yeah, they have very expensive rates because they know that they can get it. But before we do this, I would like to see other options, if at all possible. That would be my take on this. What's your deadline on this?
Well, we need to get started. Well, to be totally transparent, I had them do the first month because we had to have it done. So if we want to go out to bid, then we would be putting out to bid for the same services and moving forward for there. They don't have, that was all they were approved for, so they're not moving, they can't do anything other than that.
Okay.
So we can see if there's any other companies that would be willing to do this and get pricing from them. This, Cleve Harris is well known around the county. This is what they do. This is pretty much all they do.
30,000 is for a year?
It's for 4 quarters, so it would go into next year.
Yeah.
But, you know, to Director Baker's point, Cleve Harris is a consequence of state regulation.
Oh, yeah.
They exist because of state regulation.
Yes. Get it? Yes.
My understanding is if we don't do this, we could be fined. And if we refuse to do this, they can do away with our sewer district, right?
So most likely they would put us into some sort of receivership and correct the problems, and if we
Seems to
continue
take it over.
if we continue not to do what we need to do, then they would most likely remove the treatment from the district and either appoint somebody or give it to the county.
Well, I understand that we have to do it, and must do it. I'm in agreement with Renette. It makes me a little uncomfortable with just one bid. Can we see if there's another bid?
Yeah.
And bring it back if there isn't any others? Then we can decide what we want to do at that point. But I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Definitely do that.
Okay. Public comment?
Thank you, Chairperson Smiley. I'm on the Technical Advisory Committee with Mr. Powell for expanded monitoring. So, last year we outlined 130 wells. You guys are in the same area. It seems to me, disadvantaged community, whatever the deal is, they have free equipment in this grant that's going on right now, the $7.6 million. We have $1,400,000 to put equipment in for monitoring the water, not the quality, but the water levels and what's going on in the wells. Mr. Kelly could talk to Mr. Reedy, sign up to be one of those wells. Get the equipment in there so you got that part covered. Every property that's being sold, a person that buys that property gets a test done by an agency. You don't have to do the testing, you just have to get the water out of the well. Those are monitoring wells, they should already be set up for this stuff. And you don't even have to do it by sticking anything down the well. It's all from satellite. And you can check that, whatever. We've been waiting for a year for information to go out to the public and for this stuff to finally be done. The grant was got in August of 22. Here we are almost in August of 24. Money has to be spent by April 1st of 25. You're a perfect candidate. I don't believe in this modeling. Cleveland Associates and every one of these contractors that are around in our area have all changed and work for all these different companies. They're all on a merry-go-round on which consultants are going to work where. And I can show you every report of what they've done. And I always ask in the past, well, if they're doing this report, why is their report this time good, but the other report that I have that shows what you guys don't like, that report not good? Doesn't make any sense because certain people that are in charge want the report to reflect what they want, not what is needed. I can tell you right now, the state's not coming in to run the sewer plant. They don't have anybody to run the state. So, I'm not saying break the law. I'm not saying don't agree to do what you do. I do believe you should put out bids because you're not going to get the best price if you don't go out with bids. And you have to see what the other communities around you, who they're using or whatever, and piggyback with them or whatever you do. But, and I don't know if 30,000 is a bad price or 30,000 is a good price. It just seems ridiculous. You guys all know the price ain't going down. Next year it's going to be more. Next year it's going to be more. And so on and so forth. This is another reason why you shouldn't change your existing plant. And when you build another plant, it should be a separate plant so you're not over certain sizes, so you don't have to meet other requirements that you would have to meet if you got bigger. And then whatever you develop, other parts on the other side of the river in this deal, you make that a separate deal. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anyone?
Can't get on the website to look this up. I looked it up earlier. It actually caught my eye for the same reason. I was on the Paso Basin Technical Committee too with Greg, so kind of rings a bell, but and this is not a criticism for you guys. This is a frustration I have with a lot of different hearings where it just seems like you guys need to be provided with the details of all of this before the hearing, before your hearing. And it should all be put into the agenda as an attachment for the public to be able to read. I don't even, have you been monitored to some extent or not? I thought I read, and maybe I was wrong about this, I thought this was an add-on to an already existing contract. I thought I saw something about a $50,000 total, and I thought, oh, so they must already have a contract for 20 and they're adding 30. Maybe I'm totally misread that. I don't know. But the point is, you sit here, and you guys do, and we do, and we're not really understanding what's going on. So is this an increase because of a new state order? And who was monitoring your wells before, and what was that deal all about, if there was any? I don't know. It's like, so, yeah, I think you guys need to sort this out a little bit. And did I hear right that this 30 grand was for 1 quarter? Is that what I heard? No, it was for 4 quarters. Huh? 4 quarters. So 1 year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just heard 4 or something. I'm going, what is that? Yeah, so, and do you know exactly what exactly is going to be provided to you guys for this new monitoring program that you have to sign up for? I mean, you talk about samples. How often do they do sampling? How does that work? On and on and on. I don't hear any answers to any of this. You guys are asking the same kinds of questions that I have in my mind. So, you know, I think it needs to be more disclosed, I guess, I would say, to everybody, is exactly what this is entails and is 30 grand even a reasonable number or not. So thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, you're looking for what's the board's pleasure? I hear a motion to pass it?
No, I want to make a motion to table it or wait till we find out more information. That's my motion. Because there's too many ifs and so on about it. I don't know that much about it. I don't think anybody else here knows that much about it. Until we find out, we're not going to spend $30,000 a year of the people of San Miguel's money. That's my motion.
So you motion to table it to a future meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a second?
We don't need a motion. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was 2 board members already requested that additional bids be received, or at least solicited, to see if we can get a better amount and if there's other servicers out there, and that direction to staff is sufficient. And then we could place this on an agenda once those additional bids are received. If there's additional information that the board wants, an additional direction to staff will need to be provided.
I didn't hear anybody say that.
Director Gregory and Director Smiley both expressed that they wanted to get other prices.
And you want to direction to get more information?
Well, I would like more information.
Yeah, right, more information.
On this flow deal, how they're
Yeah.
gonna figure that one out.
Yeah.
It's just,
So we can bring it back to a future meeting.
With bids.
We'll see if we can find any other companies in this area that are willing to do it.
Sure.
And what their associated cost is, and we'll provide some more information about what the overall process and
That would be great. The other possibility is, could they do just a smaller part of the work? Whereas you're still doing some of it, and then they're just doing the minimum amount.
So we can definitely look at that. Although I would have to say
I don't know if it's an a la carte type thing.
So in a lot of these scenarios where we have consultants doing part of the work or all of the work, sometimes it's not cost effective for us to do part of it.
Correct.
And paying them a little bit more is to come and do it and get that data themselves and be 100% responsible for that data is of equal or less cost. In this case, if we were to separate it and we were to take the water samples and we were to take the water level measurements, then, like I said earlier, we would need to buy the equipment to do that, because some of these tests are conductivity tests, so we would have to buy the equipment for that. We have a lot of equipment. We would have to get equipment that's longer, that can reach down 40 feet to ground to get these ground samples. It's not impossible. We can definitely look at that. But like I said, sometimes it's more cost effective to have them do it. But we'll look at all the options and see what it comes out to.
Okay, so that's being placed on a future agenda once we get the bids.
Yes.
And more information.
More information. Okay, this time we're going to adjourn to the San Miguel Community Services District Groundwater Sustainability Agency, GSA.
Time?
6:33.
Is 7:33.
Yeah.
Item 1, update from July 24th, 2024, Pastoral Cooperative Committee meeting.
So Director Baker was at the meeting. I was on it virtually, but there was, I think, some good discussion about some of the projects. There was some discussion about the budget. But we're going to talk about some of the projects in the next item, so I don't want to get too far into those. But I think we're on the right track. But as was mentioned in that meeting, there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Some of those questions have been worked out at a staff level and are not for public use yet. But hopefully at the next PBCC meeting, some of the things about governance and some of the questions about budget will be hopefully at the next PBCC meeting for public consumption. I don't know if you have anything you want to talk about. But.
Well, yeah, I know that the county changed the budget that we approved. They eliminated 3 items, a couple $100,000, I think. Governance was one of them. So now, apparently they need to go back and try to approve the budget that all the other GSAs approved. So it's a mess.
Well, speaking of that, Director, finally, Mr. Powell has some information he'd like to hand out here.
So, regarding the budget, the county had approved the budget, but struck 3 items. Basically, the ongoing basin management, or monitoring, the outreach, and development of the governance structure. Even Supervisor Gibson didn't want to be on the record saying anything about why they didn't do it. But they did approve the remainder of the budget, so the PBCC can operate, but the county can't pay into any of those 3 things unless it's in an existing budget that they have somewhere. But it didn't sound to me like they would be able to until it was re-approved. So the annual reports, the 5-year evaluation, the ET program, I guess the ET program's not even on the budget, but, so the annual report and the 5th year evaluation were approved by the county, and so those will continue to move forward. It's the other 3 projects that are actually highlighted that won't move forward. But as Director Baker mentioned, they are supposedly going to go back to the county, or Supervisor Gibson is going to go back to the county and ask them to reapprove it, including the things that were struck out.
And apparently we had no reason as to why they were struck out, taken out, and why the county was even presented the alternate budget.
But I think they were presented the full budget and chose to strike them out.
As this group, I didn't understand that the supervisors decided to do that.
Yeah, the supervisors decided to strike those 3 items out. My understanding was the full budget was presented to the board.
And a lot of different. It was in
it's
an
hard to tell
agenda,
for
it
sure.
was tabled, and it was brought back. I don't know. Anyway, and then we talked about the blended water project and the pipelines that they're doing that did not include ours. Ours is a totally separate deal. And the rate study that they're doing to assess property owners, what they're going to want to charge to finance this bureaucracy that they're trying to set up. And apparently they're not going to involve domestic wells. At least that's what they say on the outside. No metering of domestic wells. Of course, that wouldn't be true until it isn't. But now there's a lot of concerns about what's going on. And they've got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of money they have to spend. It's really moving at the pace of a glacier. So we'll see if they can get going.
Anything else, Director Davis?
No.
Do you have any questions?
No.
I have none. Other comment? Let's approach the lectern.
You want to go first? He's going to go first.
Thank you, Brett.
Agent Murray Powell again.
This is what I was thinking.
So I disagree with Mr. Dodd over here. It's very simple. If you look at the MOA, there's a provision that requires that a 100% approved fiscal year budget is approved at the beginning of the fiscal year. That was July 1st. Okay. So on this handout I gave you, the first item says original unapproved budget. Mr. Dodd said the county had approved that. They had, back on June 18th, there were the consent item, which is